Yeah, thank you, Liz. We're so grateful to be here. And, we'll share our experience in delivering corporate wellness and hopefully provide a lot of value for your members. So thanks again. And again, here our webinar is called Scale Your Business with Virtual Corporate Wellness and Add Six Figures of New Profit. So why corporate wellness? Well, there's a few reasons. First and foremost, in our post-COVID world, since the pandemic, companies have prioritized employee wellness because employees are demanding it. They need it. We see the mental health, the stress, the burnout, the physical health issues that are going on since the pandemic. And employees are not only asking about it, they're really wanting and seeking employers that offer it. So there's no better time. I mean, corporate wellness is really growing in today's world. Actually, a survey done by the for Human Resource Management, researching hundreds of companies, found that 80% of the companies that they surveyed plan to increase their employee wellness budget in 2023 from 2022. So we know it's a growing industry and there's just more demand and need for it. And that's just where we see the industry, and we hope that you become a part of it. Secondly, stop marketing or selling one client at a time. I mean, it's not that you can't got to give up that part of your business, but it's just so much harder. I've owned health clubs or in small gyms, and I know how hard it is to sell one client at a time. When you acquire a company as a client, you get 50, 100, 200, even 300 or more employees and contacts and clients at one time at a really good profit margin. So adding on to your business, it's really a nice thing to not have to always sell one-on-one. You're acquiring large groups of clients with just one sale. Thirdly, companies pay most or all of the fees. So you don't have to worry about an employee or a per individual having financial limitations and can't afford your services. The company's going to pay, if not all of it, the vast majority of these service fees. So again, it just makes it easier for the employees to sign up. And you're going to retain these companies for years on end, which is such a great thing to have dozens, hundreds of clients stick with you for years. Lastly, it's super scalable. Corporate wellness, especially what we're going to talk about today, it's 100% virtual. So really a scalable business model. And it doesn't matter what size your facility is. My facilities, I had 4 of them, had a limit of about 150 to 180 members. You can go way beyond that. We were limited about geography. Some of my downtown Chicago spaces were hard for parking for a lot of clients. So I lost some clients that way. Here, it doesn't matter where you're located. Your geography is not going to restrict you on how you can grow this part of the business, and not even your staff. So you don't have to worry about a big staff. It's just easy and scalable business model that we have here. So that's why corporate wellness. So we want to ask, who is this for? Wellness entrepreneurs like you, right? If you desire to build a significant new revenue stream, and again, I've been an entrepreneur most of my professional life, and I was always taught to have multiple revenue streams. So this is just a great resource to say, let me add some significant new revenue to my business. And corporate wellness is a great way to do that. So if something you're looking for, we can show you how that's possible. Maybe you're just interested in corporate wellness for a long time, but not sure where to start. And so this could be a reason in a way, and that's what I think this is for. If you're just looking for a way to start and get into the corporate wellness space, we want to show you some of that as well today. So we think about this, who's this for, right? If you own a fitness facility, whether it's a fitness studio, group X studio, yoga, if you own a small health club or large health club, personal training gyms, these are all real partners here in these images that are now taking their brick and mortar and growing into the corporate wellness space. A great thing about that is you're going to get some of those corporate wellness clients from companies that will now come to your brick and mortar. So it's this double feed, which is a fantastic opportunity. Medical and wellness businesses as well. Think about medical practices, physical therapy clinics, functional medicine, chiropractic, or wellness spas. We have partners that do IV treatment or hormone replacement or just full-on wellness spas. Again, that want to expand into the corporate wellness space. It's a great natural thing because a lot of these employees and companies are looking for these types of services. So great double way to feed yourself, this business. Also, virtual health and wellness coaches. You don't have to have brick and mortar. We know that the industry is changing. A lot of people are running their businesses online. I closed my 4 businesses or 4 gyms in Chicago to COVID. So I decided to go 100% online. And these are, again, real partners that have 100% online businesses and now are expanding into the corporate wellness space because this model is 100% virtual. So it's a fantastic way to kind of grow into working in the workplace. So today's agenda, now you know who it's for. Let's kind of go over what we want to talk about. We're going to dig deeper into why corporate wellness is a compelling business model. So just kind of give you more details, deeper understanding, and get a good grasp of why it's such a great and compelling business model. Also, who are your ideal businesses investing in corporate wellness? What are the companies and who are these companies that are really looking to add corporate wellness or virtual type of corporate wellness into their model and into their business for their employees, right? And then what employee wellness solutions deliver the best engagement and results? We've spent 12 years with over 200 companies, 65,000 employees, and focusing on engagement. Because you could have 150 employees in a company. If no one's engaging, then it's not going to produce results. And companies aren't going to be excited or thrilled with what you're bringing, right? So we've spent a lot of time, a lot of research, tweaking and understanding, what employees wellness solutions are going to deliver the best engagement results, and we're going to share that with you today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Ron. And Ron, go ahead, my friend.
Great. Thanks, Sergio. So let's dive into this a little bit deeper, into the model a little bit deeper. So you have your existing business, you have your existing clients, and the idea is you use corporate wellness to create a new set of clients and, more importantly, a new revenue stream. So let's take a look at that revenue stream and why it's so interesting. So first of all, it doesn't take much, right? So in this example here, you have 3 companies and only 350 employees, and that translates into a $270,000 annual revenue in new revenue. It's not just what's important is the revenue, right? It's really profitable as well. So even if you hire a new team to deliver this solution, your profits are going to be at least 75%. But if you deliver some of them or you already have existing staff, that margin can go up significantly. Right? We already talked about this revenue stream being interesting because of you acquire groups of clients. But not only do you acquire groups, the company pays for it. So a very interesting part of this revenue stream. But probably most importantly is the thing about corporate wellness is these companies, if you deliver, they're going to stay with you for multiple years. Our average corporate account stays with us for 4.5 years. So not only are you selling groups and the companies are paying for it, you're retaining those clients over a significant period of time. So a very different and interesting, I'm sure you'll agree, revenue stream that you can add to your existing business. But also what happens is as you're delivering programs to those employees, right, you're creating a new pipeline into your existing business. So what happens is you're developing relationships with those employees, right? As you're delivering these services, they're getting to know you, trust you, like you. And it's the perfect way for you to introduce your other services. So many employees, as they get to know you, like you, and trust you, are going to want more from you. Because remember, the company's paying for a level of service, but many of those employees will want more. And it's a perfect conduit back into your current clients. And there's no marketing cost to it, right, as well. There's just absolutely no marketing cost. So as you can see, a pretty interesting model because it creates a new revenue stream, but it also creates a pipeline of ready-made, ready clients back into your existing business. Here's a great example of a business in Memphis, right? They've got a functional training facility. They're developing relationships and working with companies in proximity to them, and they have wonderful services that those employees are taking advantage of after they develop relationships through the corporate programs. Here's another example. She's out of Florida and she has very high-end virtual services. And so she's developing relationships with those employees and companies in proximity to her. But many of those busy professional men and women want additional high-end services that she's able to provide. All right, let's talk about what we've found to be the ideal corporate wellness clients. So as we mentioned before, we've been delivering enterprise corporate wellness solutions for 12 years. We've worked with over 200 companies, tens of thousands of employees, and more importantly, we've worked with a wide range of company sizes from Fortune 500 down to smaller local businesses. And as you can see here, we've worked across a wide range of industries. So we've sampled just about every type of company you can imagine. And a couple of years ago, we looked at our existing 200 companies and looked to see which of those had the success indicators. So the things that create a successful corporate client, we indicated as sales cycle, right? We wanted those companies that have a shorter sales cycle. We wanted to look for the types of companies that stayed with us for a long time, that had long retention. Obviously, those companies that were profitable. And really importantly, we wanted to look for what type of characteristics did a company have that we were able to not only stay with for a long time, but have long-term results. Okay, so we went back and looked at all of our corporate accounts and looked at them through this lens. And what we found was pretty interesting. So those characteristics that we found to be the ideal clients are, number one, local business and local decision making. So those businesses that are in the communities where we had a presence. And we're not everywhere, but in those local markets where we had team members and staff and we had companies in those local markets, just a much better fit. And we'll talk about why here in a minute. Second characteristics is employee count. What we found really interesting is not too small, but definitely not too big. And we'll talk about this here in a minute as well. And thirdly, obviously this kind of makes sense, particularly in the economic climate that we're in today, but they need to be successful and growing. And again, we'll talk about that as well. So these are the three characteristics that we found absolutely made the biggest difference and absolutely made the ideal companies. So let's dive into them a little bit deeper. So when we look at local business and local decision making, again, what do we mean by that? So number one, the business is headquartered in your local community. So where you're at, these businesses are headquartered in your local market, meaning more specifically that the owners, management team, the CEO, the C-suite, they're in your local market. So why does this make such a big difference? Why is having local businesses so powerful and so important in the corporate wellness model? So number one is, this just makes sense, right? If they're in the local market, you will be able to develop relationships with those individuals, right? So as we all know, developing a relationship with the decision makers just creates a much stronger bond. Secondly is there's no need to consult with others outside about a wellness decision. So this is really important. I can tell you a story. We were in the Phoenix market and we were dealing with a very large national financial institution, and we were dealing with the president of the local Arizona market. And we spent months working on this account, and it was just about to finalize it. We had paperwork ready, we had planned the rollout, so we were in the 11th hour on this account. Well, it turns out they had to go get permission from the head of HR globally for the head of HR, which was in San Francisco, and she said no. So all of the months that we spent on this, and again, we had great relationships, but the decision making was made outside of those local markets, and we actually never met her. And so big reason local is you develop relationships with those local decision makers. So really important. And then additionally, this is important, local businesses really like to know that you're down the road, you're in their community. So if there's ever any issues, you're there to support them. So a really important part as well is it just makes them feel more comfortable if they're doing business with another business in their community. And then finally, really important is word of mouth, right? Local human resource managers and executives, they interact with other local human resource executives. CEOs interact with other CEOs, whether they play golf or whatever. So we've gotten an enormous amount of business from word of mouth. So if you're in a company, a local business, and you deliver and you get great results, it's absolutely natural for those businesses to refer you to the other local businesses that they have relationships with. So really important characteristic is local businesses. If you learn anything, take this to heart. It will save you a ton of heartache, trust me. Number two, let's talk a little bit about employee count. And this actually is pretty counterintuitive. Most people think, when they think about corporate wellness, what comes to mind is they start thinking about these big companies, right? And we found, is we've worked with General Electric, we've worked with Pfizer, but we've found that really big companies are very difficult for a lot of the reasons we just talked about. So what we found was really the sweet spot is in that 51 to 100 is good, 100 to 130, or excuse me, 100 to 300 is great. So in that 51 to 300, we found to be the sweet spot. Now that doesn't mean if you have a company that's got 15 employees that you wouldn't necessarily work with them, but you just don't want to build your business with all too small. And definitely same is true with the big ones. They just they create some challenges. So we found local businesses in this sweet spot of 50 to 300. So why? So number one, it's kind of what we talked about before. A smaller company just has a whole lot less bureaucracy, less layers of decision making. And if you want to slow down the sales process, add layers of decision making to it. So that's a great reason smaller businesses just have less layers. And again, you'll be able to talk to those decision makers. Secondly, and really importantly, we found that if you've got a company with like 100 employees It's like a big family. They all know each other. And especially when you have the leadership team involved, wellness is just going to take hold in a company like that, meaning you're going to get a lot more engagement, a lot more support, a lot more of that community interaction. And so why we get 4 times the engagement level of many other corporate programs is because we focus on the right businesses, right? So wellness just takes hold in a company that's in that sweet spot of 50 to 300. So I hope that makes sense. Huge learning. I wish we would have known this early on because it's made a big difference in our business. And number 3, particularly in today's economic climate, you just want to focus on those businesses that are successful and growing, meaning that they've had a multi-year growth trend in terms of adding employees or revenue, and that they've got a stable employee count. And also think about healthy industries, right? Things like energy, medical, right? Those things are going to be around government. So the industries that are recession-proof, are always healthy during downturn in economies, make sure you focus on those businesses. Okay, so there's the 3. So just in summary, why focusing on the ideal clients is so important, and it's just really going to accelerate your success in the corporate wellness market. So number 1, much shorter sales cycles. So instead of many, many months, you could have many, many weeks. So it's just a much shorter sales cycle, again, because you're talking to the decision makers and there's a lot less bureaucracy. That's number 1. Number 2 is our average local business stays with us, so we retain them for 4.5 years. And think about the value of that client if you can keep them for 4.5 years. Huge part of growing your business is that retention piece, right? And then we just talked about this, wellness takes hold, right? We get 4 times the engagement of most programs, and a lot of it has to do with the types of businesses. Of course, it has to do with the solutions that we offer too, which you'll learn about here going forward, but it absolutely is the type and the characteristic of those businesses is wellness takes hold in these smaller locally owned businesses. And just the profit margins are much higher because you get great engagement, and so you get more engagement, you're going to have more profit. And then again, that big one, you want to grow your business, deliver great results to these local businesses because they have connections into other local businesses, and going in with that referral is just a strong way to build your business. So I hope this makes some sense. It may be a little counterintuitive, but trust me, after 12 years, we learned the characteristics of the ideal businesses. And so if you're planning on developing a corporate wellness business, please take this to heart. It will save you a lot of time and a lot of energy. Okay, let's talk about what we've learned are the ideal employee programs that we've provided that drive the best engagement and ultimately the best results. But before we jump into that, let's take a look at the real issues around employee wellness, and let's look at some stats that are pretty staggering around the health of employees today. So first of all, 10% of the employee population is diabetic, but even worse than that, 40% is pre-diabetic, which means if those 40% stay on the path that they're on, in another 10 to 15 years, they're going to become diabetic. So that's a real ticking time bomb. Secondly, and this is something that we all know pretty well, is a staggering number of employees are overweight or obese. And 80% of employees, and this is an updated figure based upon the recent pandemic, 80% of employees have regular high impact stress. And this is stress that is impacting their ability to do their jobs and to do their work. And then finally, 28%, almost a third of employees have metabolic syndrome, which is high blood pressure, high cholesterol, those issues that are cardiac enabling issues. So pretty staggering statistics of the state of employees today. And companies get this, they understand that there's a real issue with their employees' health. Companies also understand that it's not just a health issue, but that it's a financial issue for the employees and for them as well. So we found that most companies, they understand this. They understand that there's an issue. They may not directly tie all these financial issues. So we absolutely talk about this when we talk to companies, remind them of these issues and give them the details. But then we also provide them, and this is important, once you talk about the pain and the issues, you give them some hope. And so most companies don't realize, and when we went through those diabetes, metabolic syndrome, stress, being overweight, 75% of the costs are associated with lifestyle-related diseases. So this really gives companies the sense of there is something we can do about this, and it is a pretty big number that we can have an impact on. The other thing that we talk about with companies is, it works, right? And here's the other thing, is most companies get this. Most companies understand that, hey, a healthy workforce is going to be better for our business, and it's going to translate into more productive employees, less costs, and so forth. So the good news is you don't have to convince employers the value of a healthy workforce, what we found you have to convince employees or employers of is that you actually have a program that will make some impact. Because they get, right? They get there's a problem. It's a pretty significant problem. And they get that, yes, we would like to have a healthier workforce. So it becomes less about that and a whole lot more about what do you provide that will actually make a difference. And that's really what we focus on. So we talk a little bit about here's the issue, here's the problem, get their head shaking, yeah, we know. But really comes down to how do you really engage your team? And then we talk to them about our solutions. We've been able to prove that we get 4 times the engagement level of most programs. And this really gets their attention, right? So they understand the problem, then talk about that 75%, and then talk about how your solutions can really engage them. And that's what we've learned in 12 years, that's a really good way to lay the foundation in talking about employee wellness. What's the problem, right? They get that, use some stats, show them that it's also a financial problem, give them hope with 75%, and then set the table by saying, look, our programs really work to engage your team. So we found that formula to work really well. Okay, so what are companies looking for? We talked about the ideal businesses. What are they looking for in terms of employee wellness? Well, number one, absolutely big thing is they're looking for it to be very inclusive. Whatever you offer has to be very inclusive. So what do we mean by that? Well, number one, it's got to appeal to a wide range of employees, right? So the topics, the fitness level, their commitment that they're willing to make. So whatever programs you offer has to appeal to a very broad group of employees. So that's part of inclusive. The other part of inclusive is you have to deliver the same programs. And this is something we learned early on, and it's why we deliver 100% virtual. Because if an employer is going to offer an employee benefit, they want every employee to be able to take advantage of it, not just the employees that are in the home office, right? So if you deliver services that are on site, you're only going to be inclusive to those employees that work on site, right? And in today's world, a lot of people are virtual, and so you really have to take advantage of the opportunities of being virtual so that you can appeal and be inclusive to all those employees. Does that make sense? Okay, so the next piece that we found companies are looking for is they want to be able to, they want the management pieces of it taken care of. And what do I mean by that? Well, they want the marketing. How do you communicate these programs to the employees? How do you do reporting to make sure that we know, are these things actually working? How many employees are taking advantage of it? And they also want you to be able to take it and manage the incentive part of it. So taking the load off them, doing the heavy lifting is a big part of what employers are looking for in a wellness program. So make sure you don't just deliver the programs, but you deliver the pieces that help make it successful, okay? And then finally, at the end of the day, what they're looking for, we talked about engagement, because you're going to see in one of the next sections that we really focus on engagement because that relates to results. But companies are absolutely looking for a return on their investment. So if they're investing in this employee wellness program, are our employees engaged? Are we getting results? So those are the key things companies are looking for. So when you design a plan or a program or talking to a company, make sure you touch on these things, because this is absolutely what they're looking for in a whole program. Okay, so this is a big one, right? So what are companies willing to spend on their corporate wellness program? Now this is, as broad as you can imagine, right? Some companies are willing to spend very little. Some companies are willing to spend a lot. What we found, what we like to identify are companies that are willing to spend enough so that we can get engagement and results. Because if they're not willing to spend enough that you actually have programs that will appeal to employees and engage them, then what's the point at the end of the day? So what we look for and what we found, and a qualifier that we use, is we're looking for those companies that would be willing to spend about what it would cost for a health club membership. Now that's not the program we're going to deliver, but we start to ask them early on, what is their budget? And oftentimes they don't really know. And so a great place to start is, are they willing to at least spend what it would cost for a typical health club membership? And so if we identify companies that are willing to invest at this level, we know we're going to have a great solution for them. So again, this is our suggestion, because you have to be able to have a budget enough to get engagement and get results. And this is what we found to be a great qualifier. Not all companies are willing to spend this, but many of them already have tried this or have talked about perhaps offering health club membership. So it's a great qualifier, and it's a great place for you guys to be in terms of what should our programs cost and what are companies willing to invest. Okay, let's get into some specifics about what actual programs have we designed, developed, and implemented that meet the criteria that the companies are looking for and drive great results. So our competencies, so we're both a health science company, meaning we have dietitians, nutritionists, exercise physiologists, mindfulness experts on our team that design our content in our programs and do our coaching, but we're also a software company, technology company. So we've been able to try lots of different things. As you can imagine, having these competencies, we've been able to try just about everything you can imagine and tinker with it to determine what actually drives the best types of results. And so over the last 12 years, working with a couple hundred companies and tens of thousands of employees, here's what we've found delivers the best engagement and results. Because remember, what companies are looking for, yeah, we get a healthy employee and a healthy employee base is great, but how are you really going to help us? And so what we found it works the best is we've developed what we call these Better You employee challenges. So what are these challenges and what are the characteristics of these challenges that we found deliver what the companies are looking for and drive great results? So first of all, 100% virtual, right? So well before the pandemic, we determined that it has to be virtual because why? Because companies want to provide the same benefit to all of their employees, no matter where those employees are. They want to be very inclusive. And so if you have a workforce, which many of them aren't all in the home office, how are you going to deliver programs to those employees that are outside of the home office? So it really needs to be 100% virtual to check that box of inclusive. The other thing is we found you absolutely have to have the topics that employees care about, right? So you can't just run one challenge and call it a transformation challenge and just repeat that. You really need to focus in on those topics employees care about. Obviously weight loss, but nutrition, sleep, stress management, right? How do I get ready for the summer months? Things like that. You get creative in terms of the topics, and you're going to appeal to a broad range of employees, and you're going to be more inclusive. So topics are super important. The next piece that we found, right, that's really important is we always run annual programs at a company, right? So we sign contracts for an annual program. And typically what we will do is provide 4 6-week challenges. So have an annual contract, and throughout the year we would have 4 different 6-week challenges. And so what we found with 6 weeks is it really is the point where, and I'll get into this in a minute, where it feels very inclusive and it doesn't feel too difficult to approach. But 4 6-week challenges with the topics that employees care about is what we found really works. So how do we get those engagement with those 4 6-week challenges? So number one, 6 weeks is super approachable, right? It doesn't feel scary. Most employees aren't ready to take the big dive and say, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be healthy. If they were, we wouldn't be here, right? Everybody would be healthy. So you have to make it very approachable, low commitment, but it also needs to be long enough that you get that habit formation. And so we tried everything. 4-week, 6-week, 8-week, 12-week annual programs. And what we found works the best in terms of engagement is that 6-week with the topics that they care about. Because when you get to about that 7th week, it doesn't matter what the topic. You just see a pretty dramatic decline in engagement. So 6 weeks, approachable. It's also right in that sweet spot to get some results, right? And then finally, with these types of challenges in the corporate setting, you get people excited and they're all doing it together. You create some great energy. It's fun. You see some amazing team building. Plus, if you do some things with some social aspects to your challenges, you're going to get people encouraging each other. And again, because of the ideal companies, 100 employees, 150 employees, it just really takes hold and it becomes a real fun and energetic community. So all these reasons why the challenges and the way we've set them up drives great engagement and ultimately great results. Okay, I'm going to turn this back over to Sergio now.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. So now I want to share the psychology of why we get such amazing engagement with our Better You challenges. So why Better You? We hired a marketing company to survey over 9,000 employees. And what we found was that 78% of them want to be better. They actually use that term better. And they all had different definitions of what better meant for them. And as you can see, we have different Better You challenges. Right? Go lean, mindful, anti-diet, be happy, holiday, sugar detox. And we have more, a lot more, and we can create and continue creating based on what we're hearing from the employees out there, what they're looking for. But we're getting 4 times the engagement of traditional wellness programs. So that's pretty big. So think about this, right? If for now you feel frustrated, unable to lose weight or keep it off, how many people do you know that have gone on a diet and gained all the weight back plus? Statistics show us it's pretty high, right? It's like over 95% of people that go on a diet gain all their weight back. So it's understandable people get really frustrated. So the Better You is excited in maintaining your ideal weight, right? So we're going to help you with the micro habits and the coaching to do it in an anti-diet way, right? The healthy way to lose weight and to stay excited and be excited about keeping it off. Maybe for you or a specific person, you're always tired and just don't have the energy, don't sleep well. So we're going to help you, the better you, give tons of energy and give you the micro habits to improve your sleep and teach you all little things that really boost and elevate your energy. Maybe for you, you're overstressed, anxious, and burned out and fatigued. We hear this a lot. So many people are dealing with so much burnout, anxiety, being so stressed. It's just, they can't concentrate. So maybe the better you is just a more mindful, balanced, and focused person. This is you, right? The better you. Maybe you're my age in your 50s and you're just worried about your health and being there for your family, which is something a lot of people my age, a lot of friends I grew up with are really starting to concern themselves with because they're now starting to take medications. Their weight's gotten out of control, blood pressure and things like that. So the better you, we're going to help you feel great. Just how do you get healthy and fit and feel 10 years younger? What are the things that slow the aging process and change those biomarkers like blood pressure, resting heart rate, and your blood glucose and things like that. So we'll coach you specifically towards a better you. Some people are more visual. They're not as kinesthetic or auditory. They're thinking about what I see in the mirror and I'm not happy with it. So again, we're going to coach you on a better you. How do you build confidence in what you love and love what you see in the mirror? And there's ways to do that and ways that we can coach around helping you feel confident in what you see in the mirror. So basically what we're telling you is we've perfected a completely different wellness plan with Better You. It's really amazing because we really focus on engagement and we're getting 60 to 80% enrollment and engagement in our programs with the Better You challenges. We understand it's hard to balance career and family. Work-life balance kind of seems like a myth these days, especially with the remote working. People are now checking their emails at 9, 10 o'clock at night. So again, burnout, while working at home seemed like a benefit for a lot of people, it's now kind of having these adverse effects, making it even harder to balance than before. So it's hard to find time for yourselves, and we get that. But we also know that 78% of employees want to be better. So we got to find a way to help them, right? And one of the things that we wanted to make sure we did is really look at the obstacles that what holds people back from becoming the better version of themselves. Why do they not move forward the way we hope that they would? And you're looking at the health statistics these days, right? So again, we did a lot of research here. We found out that number one obstacle is people feel like they've tried everything. They've done keto or paleo or South Beach or Atkins. They've done low carb. They've done detoxes. They've done it all, and it doesn't work. I don't know what to do, right? Well, I can tell you right now with our personalized plan, our holistic mind-body approach to it, knowing exactly what to do, using our micro habits and these small, amazing, easy-to-use technology, we've looked at hundreds of different wellness programs being offered out there, and nothing is this. So we know you haven't done the Better You challenge. Plus, the coaches can assess and adjust it in the middle of a challenge. So whatever program you're doing and whatever goals you're working on, we can adjust mid-program. Another obstacle you're here, and I get this all the time with my clients. I'm going to be miserable. I don't want to give up what I love and do what I hate, right? Listen, I love pizza, chocolate, wine, and key lime pie. Those are my 4 favorite things, and I never give them up. It's just how often and how much, right? So we kind of coach on that. We know the science of consistency. Being consistently good is far better than occasionally perfect. Occasionally perfect is really just another word for a diet. And as we already kind of established, people that go on diets lose the weight, but they gain it all back within 6 to 12 months on average, right? And plus additional pounds. But can you be consistently good? Like thinking about if you eat 3 meals 7 days a week, just on average, 21 meals, if 17, maybe 18 of them, you follow this personal Better You plan. And we give you guidelines on what that is, right? Thinking about portion size, whole and real foods versus processed and fast foods. And then 3 or 4 meals are treat meals. And I don't like to call them cheat meals because cheat feels like you're doing something wrong. Treat means, no, I'm treating myself. I've been living a healthy lifestyle and I get to enjoy some of the things that I really love, even if they're not that healthy. And it's part of my lifestyle. We know that if you can be good 80 to 90% of the time, you're not only going to get great results, it's sustainable for life. This is a healthy living, Better You, right? It's a healthy lifestyle. And then the third obstacle is I don't have time or motivation. And we get that. We're busy. Everybody's busy these days, but we want to address that as well. Our accountability coaching and wellness technology will be with the patient or client every step of the way to keep them accountable. We know accountability increases motivation. We also have different ways to motivate people, and we kind of coach you on that. So it's just really about building that lifestyle, knowing that you can just do a few minutes a day to start and you build up from there. We meet every person where they're at. So if you haven't exercised in years and you just want to start walking a little bit, we meet you there and we can set those goals based on that. And our technology is just so easy to use. I mean, you'll be blown away how easy it is, that it just saves a lot of time and it just keeps it fun. It's really a fun and interactive way to think about health, be engaged with health, and then be engaged with other people as well that are participating in it with you. So again, this is what Better You is. You may have tried everything or think you've tried everything and you don't know what to do. We've helped approach and deal with that. You feel like you may be miserable or afraid to be miserable and you don't want to give up things that you love. We've already tackled that. You don't have to. You can eat the things that you truly enjoy. And then again, we're going to help you find motivation and also the time and make it not break in or take so much time of your day, but really make this part of your lifestyle. We've literally addressed the top 3 obstacles people have with the Better You challenges, the Better You model. So now Ron is going to pull it all together and share some examples of real companies and the solutions we provide. Ron?
All right. Thank you, Sergio. Okay, so I want to talk about and give you some actual real life examples. So here's a company, a construction company, general contractor. They have about 150 employees. We provide 4 unique 6-week challenges for them annually. And look at this, they've been a client of ours for about 10 years now. In fact, we just had a meeting with them recently and we're talking about the program we're going to run for them next year. So it's a great example. Some people say, well, construction companies, it doesn't really matter. People are people, right? At the end of the day. So here's a great example of an ideal business, the size, local decision making, 4 unique 6-week challenges. So we generate, right, about $81,000 a year from this client. We easily get 75% margins. So over the last, since this company has been our client, we've made almost $1 million off of this one client. It's a great example. So here's another example of a credit union. Credit unions are great. We've worked with lots of them because they're very much of a community type of company. So this Secu Credit Union, 95 employees. Same thing, we run 4 unique 6-week challenges. They've been a client of ours since 2014, a little smaller, but we still generate $62,000 in revenue from this one business, and they've been a client of ours for about 8 years. And now here's just to show you that what we've done, and it can be flexible in terms of what we've found. So here's a law firm, right? They're a tax firm, so they are real stressed out during tax season, which is April and October. So we run 8-week challenges, 2 of them during that time that really focus on stress and being active and eating well. And so it just shows you that different companies have some different needs. And if you have this model of challenges, you can customize it in a way that fits the individual companies. So it's just a great example to show you that it could be pretty flexible. And also on that flexibility topic, so here's a municipality. They have 4,200 employees, and what we do for them is they've got a pretty intense wellness program. They've got staff and so forth. As the companies grow, that tends to happen. But what we run is an annual 12-week wellness and weight loss program for them. So again, when you have this model of delivering virtual wellness challenges, you can make it pretty flexible and appeal to a wide range of employers. So this example here, if you want to talk about what kind of business this could make, if you add all this up, it's about $350,000 in annual revenue just from these four accounts. So you could see how if in your market you just get a couple of companies, 2 or 3 or 4 companies, you can create a pretty sizable business. But remember what we talked about, from Jane's Corporation, we've gotten at least 3 or 4 other accounts from just Jane's. Because if you go in, you work with the company, you actually deliver great results, a general contractor has all their subs. And we've worked with, like I said, a number of companies as a result of getting great results with Jane's. So let's just give you a great example of when you put it all together, what the types of businesses look like, what the types of solutions are, how much money you can generate, and also if you deliver, look at how long these clients have stayed with us and how long we've retained them. So it's a really, really great business model that puts it all together. Okay, that concludes the webinar. So if you'd like to learn how we can help you acquire the types of companies that we described in your local market and deliver the types of programs and the results and the engagement, please let us know. We'd love to have a conversation with you and see if this is a good fit for your business.